you could break one rule, what rule would that be?
Apart from all the ones that I do break. Or... Wow, that's a really tough one.
Tough questions, right?
Oh, that's a really tough question. Well, I don't want to put too fine a point on it. Let's just say that there are some countries in the world that have got a lot to learn. And I would have to admit, even though I'm a proud Australian, Australia is one of those.
Hi everyone, this is Sei Spiers and welcome back to the Leadership Project. For today's episode, I am gonna be the host again, and my guest for today is my husband, Mick. We're gonna ask questions that very timely and relevant. It's all about the beauty pageant questions. And it's really up to you if how you're gonna answer those questions. Those questions are very controversial and you don't know that. You're gonna be surprised.
All right, bring it on.
Yes, bring it on.
Ask me anything.
For the first question, if you were the God for a day, how would you change the world?
I'd eliminate all bias. We are socially disposed to being biased. It's natural. It comes from evolution. So when we're born, a baby is able to recognize their mother. They can recognize the smell, to a certain degree the look, because the eyes aren't fully developed at this point. But there's something about a young-born baby that can almost instantly recognize their mother and to be fearful of anyone that doesn't look and smell like we do. But what then happens is that evolves into bias, and that bias doesn't serve us anymore. It may have served us in olden days, maybe in times of cavemen, etc., where we were designed to be fearful of those that were not like us because of tribal wars, tribalism, etc. But implicit bias that seems to stick with us as we grow older, it just doesn't serve us anymore. So if I was God, I'd take a big, broad stroke and just remove all kinds of bias and discrimination in the world.
For beauty pageant questions, there are only 30 seconds to 1 minute.
Oh.
No, it's really okay. So,
all right, so shorter answers. Okay.
Yeah, shorter answers.
All right, thank you.
What do you think of this? Is life easier for women or men?
Oh, it's definitely easier for men, and that's not to dismiss that is challenging for men. There's a lot of men out there. Right now, in fact, there's a shift going on where men can get demonised in some respects. So we're seeing a shift in gender balance. We're seeing some feminists out there saying things like kill all men, which is just ridiculous to go to the other end. So there are a lot of men out there that are doing it tough. But as it stands today, it is still a man's world. And you'll just look at the boards of most companies, you look at senior management, you look at all kinds of aspects that gender bias still exists today, and we've got a long way to go before it's redressed. Not to diminish that there are some men out there that are doing it tough, but I'd say on balance, it's definitely a man's world today, and women do it tougher.
Okay, next question. Does a woman sacrifice more than a man?
I'm going to say yes and it's a little different. I'm going to explain that answer. So I would say that women sacrifice their career a lot more than men do, and that's partly a maternal instinct and partly a societal expectation that has been set over a long period of time. But guilt is felt on both sides. So if I can, once again, give a generalisation, and generalisations are unfair. So for example, if a woman is stuck at work and they're missing a school event, they feel really guilty that they're not there for their children. And yet if a man, once again, a generalisation, if a man goes to that school event, they'll have one mind on feeling guilty whether they really should have skipped out on work. And I'd like to see that guilt to just be dropped. It doesn't serve us well. There's two emotions that don't always serve us well, guilt and regret, and we need to get past that.
Okay, what steps or measures need to be taken to eradicate poverty?
So it's definitely the distribution of wealth in a more equitable way. So I need to be careful here because there's some benefits of capitalism. Capitalism gets out there, gets in touch with people's kind of drive and motivation, and creates jobs. Like, so capitalism does create jobs, but it also creates an inequitable society where the top 1% of wealthy individuals on the world, I think they're richer than the other 99%. And if we can just distribute that wealth in a fairer way, and I'm not saying to get rid of capitalism, but I'm saying in a fair and a more equitable way, we probably wouldn't see poverty in the world.
Yeah. There are also some countries in Europe that they are distributing the wealth, right? It's the taxes.
Yeah, so socialism doesn't work either. So socialism goes too far the other way, and it doesn't tap into some of the human drives, the human needs, etc., etc. So it's a very wonderful principle, socialism, but it also proves that it doesn't work that well in terms of driving an economy and getting it to increase. Hey everyone, it's Mick Spiers from the Leadership Project, where we empower leaders with all of the knowledge and skills that they need to create amazing teams and amazing workspaces. If you're liking today's video, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell. Back to the show.
Next question. Is there a way to curb sexual harassment?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And the answer's got to be yes. And it's got to be through education. It's got to be through education of the next generation coming through, the older generations too, but education of the next generation that's just not on. It's just not on. So get in young when hormones are starting to kick in and when, you know, minds start drifting, etc., etc. Get in there really early, and education is the answer. Education on both sides, by the way. So education for men that is just not acceptable, and education for women about setting boundaries and speaking up if someone does cross those boundaries.
Next question. If you could break one rule, what rule would that be?
Oh, wow. Apart from all the ones that I do break. Okay. If I could break one rule, what rule would that be?
Tough questions, right?
Oh, that's a really tough question. I'll take it easy on myself, and I'm going to say unjust laws. There's a lot of unjust laws that are still out there in many societies, and I'd like to see a rebalance of those. Some laws have been written in the early 1900s, and they still exist in states of the US or in different countries around today. Let's just get rid of those. So the laws I'd like to break are the ones that are outdated and should be updated. I can't remember which state it is, but there's a state in the US where it's illegal to carry an ice cream in your pocket. And it comes from some event that happened decades ago where there was a kid walking down the street with an ice cream in his pocket. A policeman mistook it for a gun and shot the poor kid, right? So it's illegal in this state to have an ice cream in your pocket. But it just shows that's not a virtuous learning cycle for a society, that when one thing happens, one bad thing happens, all of a sudden we bring down a law and go, okay, let's make that illegal. That's not smart, right? So we need to get just a bit more on point.
Yes.
With modern law.
Last question. If you had a chance to discuss a social issue with world leaders, what social issue would it be?
Oh, it'd definitely be the carrying of ice cream in your pocket.
What's that?
The social issue would definitely be racial discrimination, without any doubt. And, well, I don't want to put too fine a point on it. Let's just say that there are some countries in the world that have got a lot to learn about ending racial discrimination. And I would have to admit, even though I'm a proud Australian, Australia is one of those. We're making steps. We're starting to catch up with our cultural heritage. We're starting to recognise the ancestral owners of the lands on which we live. But that's taken a long time. That's taken more than 200 years for us to come to that point. So it'd definitely be the end of racial discrimination. And I can, without naming them, I can name half a dozen world leaders that I'd want to sit down and have a really solid talk to about that.
Okay, thank you so much, Mick Spiers, for sitting down with me here today. That's all.
You're welcome, Sei, and thank you for those amazing questions. That was really thought-provoking. And for those that are watching at home, I want you to think about what would have your answers been to some of those challenging questions. They are really great questions. I'll openly tell you, I'm not a fan of beauty pageants, and someone else is, but it's normal here. It's a part of society in the Philippines to follow beauty pageants. I'm not a big fan at all, but the one thing I do like is the debate and the topics and bringing to the surface conversations that we need to have as a society. And the questions you asked today are all in that realm. So thank you so much. That was really good.
Yes.
All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was thought-provoking for you. I hope that you did stop, think and reflect on some of those questions. We hope you enjoyed the videos that we're bringing to you. If you do, don't forget to hit like, subscribe and that little notification bell so that you're informed of all of our future videos. And remember to join us on this journey as we learn together and lead together.
Bye.